For more than 2,000 years, Christians have been persecuted for their faith in Jesus, a truly innocent man whose life and message led him to his death. And today, his name alone divides the world, instills fear in political powers and religions. Yet persecution was the catalyst and engine that drove the gospel out of Jerusalem and fulfilled the Great Commission. Persecution has always been a hallmark of successful Christianity. It's not a tragedy. It's one of the most hope-filled things on the planet. It's where the light of Jesus breaks through the darkness. Faith overcomes fear, grace reigns over suffering, and in what seems like the most unlikely of circumstances, courage is born. This is the story of a man who stumbled upon this type of courage. He was a leader of the Islamic faith from Central Asia. One day, while the man was praying to Allah, he saw a vision. He was in the desert, and there were 6 people dressed in black pulling him towards a river of fire. The man had 6 chains on his body, 1 on his neck, 2 on his arms, 2 on his legs, and 1 around his waist. As the man was pulled closer to the river of fire, he heard an endless number of voices screaming, "Do not come here." The man ignored the voices until one cut through the millions of others. It was the voice of his mother. She called her son by name and in anguish screamed, "Do not come here." As soon as the man heard this, he shouted no, and all but one of the chains broke off his body. He fell to the ground. The men wearing black took those broken chains and began to beat him. He could feel his bones breaking and the skin on his back ripping open. He cried for help, but there was no one around. As the man lay on the ground, he looked up, and in the distance, he saw a hill. And on top of the hill was an old wooden cross, and on the cross hung a man. The man on the cross was bleeding, and there were 2 streams flowing from him, one of blood and one of water. As the man lay on the ground, he began to call out to the one on the cross, "Help me, please, help me." Suddenly, he left his cross and came down to the man. He lay on top of him, and those wearing black now started to beat this man, and his blood began to shed on him. After they had beaten the man from the cross, he stood up, stumbled forward, fell down and died. The first man asked him, "Why have you died? Who will help me now?" Suddenly, the one who died came back to life, stood up and pulled the man with such a strength that the last chain holding his body broke. And he said, "I am Jesus, and I died for you." Jesus held the man's hand and led him away from the river of fire to a huge gate where a multitude of people were worshipping Jesus. Jesus turned to the man and said, "Go and tell the others." And he replied, "Jesus, even if they kill me, I will spend the rest of my life telling the world about you." Jesus Christ, the medicine of the world, who 2,000 years on is still using persecution to build his church.